I'm Jillian.
And I'm Natasha. And this is Mental Mudslide.
Each episode, we slide down the slippery slopes of our minds. I've got some garden gummies, a head full of wild ideas, and zero filters.
And I'm here to ride that wave and see where our mental mudslides take us. It's all about fun, unexpected turns, and a deep dive into the wacky and wonderful.
Natasha, you had to file a police report today. I need to know more. I have been waiting to hear what is it about. At first I was concerned, but you would have told me if it was like a problem. So I need to know. Tell me, what did you have to do?
Yes. Okay. So this is so random and so me that it's ridiculous. So I don't even know where to begin. I think I'll start with like what triggered me to file this report and then what happened in my filing process. Like it was a whole thing. So yesterday I was really busy at work and I was doing all this like work where I needed to kind of like focus on a task, and I wasn't in meetings, but I was having to like do producing something. So I was listening to podcasts kind of in the background. And one of them that came up was like a true crime thing, right? There's something always that gets mixed in, I think, for almost everybody where true crime shows up at some point. And it started off talking about how this guy was riding his bicycle near a river and found a shoe, and he reported it to the police, and then it resulted in identifying like a murder victim like 2 miles away. And all of a sudden in my mind I was like, I have found a shoe. I have found a random shoe somewhere before, and never dawned
Yeah.
on me to report it to the police. So, and I was like, oh my gosh, what if it's related to like a murder? So I was like, well, what am I going to say about this? Because then I was like, well, when did this happen? And it was more than a year ago. But I recall it being such a funny thing at the time that I remember taking a picture of it. I'm like, well, you know what? If I still have a picture of this, I am going to file a police report. So I scrolled back through my phone. Lo and behold, about a year and a half ago, I still have this picture. So basically,
Oh
what
my God.
happened is I had a friend in town, and we were walking from my house in the morning to go to like a local like brunch spot. And in the middle of the sidewalk was a pair of brand new shoes. I mean, they looked like maybe they had been worn that day only, but Jillian, as well as a pair of pants. But let me set the scene for
What?
you. Yeah, it wasn't like a pair of pants folded up. It looked like somebody had been wearing these pants with a belt, everything in the pockets, and had literally gone and like put their hand above their waist and just pushed everything they were wearing from the waist down off of their body. So it almost looked like there was like a human disappearance, and like the pants and
Yeah.
the shoes like were all like puddled down on the floor together.
Yeah.
It's
They
still
like spontaneously combusted right in that
basically,
spot. And they just vaporized.
yes.
That's
The
weird.
pants were so clean. It had the belt was still through the belt loops. It had like a Superman belt buckle. Their keys to their house and their car were still attached to the belt loop. And in the picture, you can kind of see, so it was like black pants, black shoes, and then you can kind of see the pocket. You know how like sometimes the pockets will be a different color. They're like whiter, they're just like a cheaper like fabric.
Yeah.
So one of the
Yeah.
pockets was kind of not turned inside out, but because you could see sort of inside of the pants where the human used to be, you could kind of see part of the pocket, and there was something square, maybe like a pack of cigarettes or something. And it is just like hindsight, like after listening to this podcast, it looked like somebody had been like stripped of their clothes, the bottom half, just right in the spot that they were taken, and like disappeared, or like I don't know. But I took a picture at the time because when I originally saw it, I thought it was funny. I was like, oh, maybe somebody decided to go streaking. Like here, there's a big population of people who are, what do they call it now? Unhoused. I don't know what they call homeless people now, like whatever that's supposed to be. But
Yes.
like
Unhoused.
unhoused, that maybe just, had a little, like a little substance in their body, and was like all of a sudden inspired to either be like, I'm way too hot, or I feel like streaking or whatever, and just kind of like pushed all their clothes off from the bottom and then just like took off. Right. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I have some follow-up questions.
Yes.
So first of all, brand new shoes that had only been worn once, but they were like puddled underneath the pants. Like were they like high tops so the pants like legs were still around the shoes?
No.
Or the shoes were separated? It was just the pants down.
And you know what? It was kind of almost like they probably kicked off the shoes before taking the pants off.
Yeah.
So the shoes, it looked like they had brought them back by the pants, and they were facing in opposite directions, the shoes right next to the pants, but the pants they had pushed down to the ground. And so they were puddled in a way, like if you push them down to your ankles and then just step right out of the top, not like you sat down and like struggled with them. So this person would have still had on like their underwear and their socks, but their pants with all of their like important shit still attached.
And the belt's still there.
Belt's still there.
So were they jeans or were they like brown like dress pants? Because in my head this entire time I'm envisioning brown dress pants.
Black ones. Black
dress pants.
Like black chinos.
Right.
Black chinos.
Yeah.
And then a low top black Sketcher. Kind of like somebody who might be in like the service industry, you know, and like like a McDonald's person or like a bartender or something, like that kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they were clean looking pants.
Yeah,
so
they
didn't look like dirty. They looked kind of new or washed or like.
Right. Yeah. Like you would want to wear something that was like presentable for work, you know, maybe like in like a service industry. So yeah, all in like really good condition. Like the pants, other than being like puddled down, like looked like they were like well pressed. They weren't wrinkly, like any of that kind of stuff. Yeah. It was crazy.
That is insane. So when you first came upon this a year ago,
Over a year ago, almost a year and a half ago now. Yeah.
Okay. Were you like, this is so weird, I got to take a photo of this? Like, did you didn't have any thought of like, this is so strange. Like this situation feels so out of place. I need to call somebody.
The only people I thought to call were other friends that I thought would think it was funny. Because at the time, so to be fair, like I had a girlfriend in town, and the night before we had gone out on the town. So there had been, you know, some imbibing involved. Is that what it's called? Imbibing? Yes.
Yes.
So we were, you know, it was the morning after. It was early in the morning. So she and I were, you know, had our sunglasses on. And like walking there. And really because of like the night that we had before, and just like kind of how, you know, Jillian, whenever I go out, just fun stuff ensues, right?
Fun stuff happens. Did you go on one of our famous queso crawls?
It was friend,
or was it just a cocktail? It was just a cocktail evening.
It was a cocktail evening. It was a dancing evening. It was an after hours club kind of evening. Like, and it was like a larger group of people, right? So, you know, so that was the mindset and like the kind of people we had seen that night and all that. So when I saw this, it kind of made us laugh and be like, oh, we totally know who this person is. This is a person who had maybe like a little bit too much alcohol. And then all of a sudden they either got real hot, you know, or they like, that's what we were thinking. We were like, there was some sort of intoxication involved and they decided, fuck these clothes. That's kind of like what we just, because of our mindset, what I didn't even think about. Or maybe they had like what was it? Oh, one of the other stories I had thought of was like, oh shit, this guy was like walking home, realized his wife was going to be like, where the fuck were you? Blah, blah, blah. And like, he was coming home too late. So he decided to drop all of his like bottom half of his clothes and like jump the wall into his like backyard. So that like, when he like came in, he'd be like, yeah, babe, I was here the whole time. I'm, you know, just in my underwear. I just had to go outside to like do something. Like I don't know. That was kind of like in my mind.
That's an interesting like,
you know
mudslide
what I mean?
that took back then.
Oh, 100%. But, okay. You know me. It's riding all the time in this brain. So, but nothing.
All right. So let's fast forward.
Yes.
So you took a picture. That way you could send it to everybody and like tell this story of the weird thing that you found, which someday we'll have to get into other weird things that we found just out and about.
No joke.
Because I have a few of those. But now take us back to today.
Yes. So I was like, okay. I told myself if I found that picture, I was going to report it, because then I would have like it wouldn't be just like from my memory, like I saw some clothes on the ground, but like I could see like, this is exactly what I saw, when and where, kind of a thing. Right. And so I'm like, well, it's not an emergency, so I should probably look up the police department and like call a regular phone number. Like,
of course,
because I've never filed a police report before. So I just didn't know, like, I don't know the process or what it means. Like, you know, I figured they would give me some advice at a minimum, right? So I call and I'm put on hold for like, I don't know how long I was queuing, which was fine, right? I just put my phone on speaker and kept doing my work. But because I was on hold for so long, I'm like, what the fuck are they going to think? Like, I'm a random lady calling about a pair of pants I found over a year ago. But I was like, nope, I'm in this. Like, what if this is the thing that could crack a case? Like, I am still going to move forward with like reporting this, but I'm like,
You had
how am I going to explain myself? You know?
you had all of this time to doubt what you were doing and like really, really question like what. I am such a dork. Like I'm gonna be so embarrassed.
Totally. Or
I've
like,
been there.
are they going to think that I'm like part of the crime? Because, you know, as this is happening, the podcast is still going, and like there's people in it who like told the police lies and blah blah blah, and somebody who came forward with like evidence.
False evidence. Yeah.
There was false evidence people. There were also people who gave evidence to like cover their own tracks because they were the person who committed the crime, like all these things, right? So this is going with her mind. So finally a lady answers the phone. I'm like, hi, I have a report. I wanted to, and I just didn't know what to say, right? Like, I'm like, this is so, where do you start this conversation with somebody, right? I'm like, hey, I wanted to report that I found some, you know, clothing on the side of the road, but it was very kind of suspicious, right? And she's like, okay, well, where did you find it? So I told her, and she's like, when? And I gave her the date, and she's like, you're calling about pants you found a year ago? Why are you calling now? And I was like, well, I was listening to a podcast. So then I'm like, I was listening to a podcast where they found a shoe that led to like a real crime. And it made me think, hey, so it's basically the story I just told you. And she's like,
Yeah.
oh, you know what? You're going to feel so much better now that you've got this off your chest. So thank God she was like very understanding. But here's the problem. She was like, this is not the kind of thing that we take a police report over the phone for. It's not important enough. You need to like file it online. I'm like, okay, well, what kind of filing do I do? There's not a filing for what I had. So she was like, go ahead and file it as like lost um, belongings kind of a thing. Nothing on it matches anything I have. So A, I don't think anybody's going to call me back. B, I can't attach the photo to it. But also it's just like, I feel like it's completely misfiled, completely inaccurately described. Like, I think what it's going to do is I said, I estimated it at like $100 worth of stuff, and I didn't lose it. I found it, you know, like, so it's just this whole thing. So I don't know if they have like AI that like goes through, I don't even know how many reports they get, but like, how do they decide which ones they're actually going to read? Like, and is there anything key in like the like description I gave to help them make like, I have no idea. But I had an exact day, an exact time, an exact location, right? Because I had this picture. So we'll see if like I ever even get reached out to. But I do feel a lot better now that I like reported it. And I feel a little guilty also for not thinking of this way sooner.
Natasha,
Mm-hmm.
how do you feel after filing this police report? This is so strange. So you felt really weird. You felt kind of shy about it. And then after, thankfully the lady was really nice, but like, do you feel a little bit better about having reported it?
Well, twofold. All the concerns I had from talking to her, I now have again, because she's not going to know what report it was. It's not going to be her reading it. So I'm going to have that whole same, like, now I have the same whole anxiety of people being like, why did it take you so long to report this? Why do you still have the picture? Like, all of these questions. And I wonder if my like reasoning for all of that is suspicious. Like, are they going to think that I am now like a suspect or something? So that's one side of it. The other side is I feel good about doing my like civic duty. And once I saw something, reporting it, just in case it's, because I mean, what if that person, like, I don't know, was like robbing all the houses in the area and had like dropped their clothes so that they wouldn't be recognized somewhere? Like, they would look different, like walking down the street, than the person who actually committed the crime. Like, what if the keys, what if that belt buckle, like, it's a very specific belt buckle. It's a Superman
It is
belt
a,
buckle.
yeah,
So, you know, so like, what if that like cracks a case on something because of the day and time and location it was found, or whatever, or a missing persons case? Maybe it's like, oh, now we have a last sighting of Bob, you know, at that time. Right. So I don't know.
right.
So I do feel better about
No,
like reporting it, but a little
yeah,
stupid that I didn't do it earlier. So
no, I think it's a good thing. So now that you've had this experience, what do you think it would take? Like, would it just be like, that just looks out of place? How often do you think you would feel drawn to making a police report in the future? Like,
Almost
if you
never.
came across, let's say you came across something similar to this, like a discarded dress on the side of the road with like a shoe, one shoe and a dress. Would that make you feel like you would again be like, oh shit? Or do you think your anxiety now is like, that's weird if I start making all of the
No, well, here's the thing. I think it all there's context to it, right? The way that it still had the belt in fully attached into the pants, the way that it had the keys still attached to it. I think if that hadn't been the case, like if it would just had been like a random shoe, I probably wouldn't have like reported anything. I also think like in the podcast, the shoe was like, it looked like a kid's shoe. So I think that probably, but like, I think people just talk, like I live in New Mexico. It's not like Colorado where people like are like, oh, don't throw your trash out. Don't like let things fall out of your car. Like, so I think if I just found like random stuff that looked like it fell out of a car, I don't think I would think twice about it. I just think the way it was all set, it was kind of like disappeared
it's
man.
it's very weird. It looks very weird. It would make me feel very, very strange if I came across this.
Yeah.
I would have been concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So
did I ever tell you about the time that I had to call the police while I was high?
What? No. Wait, okay. Was first, where were you in Colorado?
I was in Colorado. So
okay.
Legal,
well, who cares then?
Everything's fine.
Okay.
I know, but like, okay, I still grew up with marijuana being illegal, right?
Fair.
And so there's still this whole thing of like having to interact with the police while you were intoxicated. I don't care if I was drunk with alcohol, like having to call the police would be off-putting if you were any type of inebriated. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so
maybe. I wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder if I would like be like, I'm allowed to be high right now. I'm allowed to be drunk. I don't care. Because I definitely like in certain situations, I'd be like, if I'm in public.
Was at home. So, I mean, I knew that I was totally fine. But here's what happened. My house is kind of rural. Let me rephrase that.
Rural.
Out in the country.
I was gonna say BFE, but that might not be appropriate. I don't know if that's been canceled.
I don't know if it's been canceled either, but yeah, probably. It's not really though. Like, I mean, it's close in, but anyway, so there was a car going. We have a lot of deer in our neighborhood. So I had just gotten through a long day and I had, popped one of those garden gummies and I was sinking down into the hot tub to relax and the sun was starting to go down and I could see all these deer out in my land, but I can also see the street from my hot tub. And I saw the deer like kind of going across and then I heard the impact of the car hitting a deer. I heard it and kind of saw it at the same time, but I almost heard it and then like happened to look directly at where it was getting hit. So I didn't see the deer hit the front of the car, but I saw the front wheels run over the deer and the back wheels run over the deer and the person like get control of their car and then just keep driving. They didn't stop. They didn't anything. Got to the stop sign that I can still see, got out, looked at the front of their car, and then just like drove off. But here's the thing. The deer was still in the middle of the road. And future cars coming down the road in the next couple of minutes were almost hitting the deer. And I have a gummy in full force. I can hardly like say words out loud, let alone like... And, I had gotten in the hot tub, which I think just like, moves your blood through your system faster. So like it was hitting me a little hard. And I was like, oh my gosh, somebody else is going to hit this dead deer in the road and then lose control of their car and end up off the road or, swerve at the last second and hit oncoming cars or something. Like, even though there isn't like a ton of traffic, like the reaction of the subsequent drivers was really concerning to me.
Yeah.
So I looked up the number to the non-emergency because it wasn't like emergency,
Mm-hmm.
and called, and I was like, somebody hit a deer outside of my house. And she's like asking me these questions. She asked me so many questions, and I'm like, she's like, how many feet away from the stop sign is it? I was like, I don't know. like from the stop sign, there's only one house. It's my house. It's somewhere between the stop sign and my house. Like, I don't know. Like, how many feet is that? A fourth of a mile? I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't know. And she's like, well, like, is it, like, is it northbound or southbound? I was like, well, it's southbound. Like, that's easy enough. And she's like, well, how big is the deer? I was like,
Deer size, bro.
I was like, yeah, I haven't walked out there yet. Like, and then she's like, do you want an officer to come talk to you? I was like, no. No, I do not. But I was so overwhelmed, like getting a quiz from a law enforcement person while I was intoxicated. It was very, very off-putting.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I can't even imagine. Wow. Yeah, I could see that. Well, also then it's just hard to be questioned, right? When you've gummied or whatever. So
I think it was like 12 to 15 minutes or something. An officer showed up, got out, like dragged the deer to the side of the road and then took off. Yeah. So nobody actually hit the deer again.
So I was curious. So you were calling not to report the person for hitting the deer, but because the deer was in the road.
I was afraid of other drivers. Yeah. Cause like,
okay. Yeah. So that kind of brought up a couple of things for me. I think in that situation personally, I would have just gone and moved the deer or like put like something reflective in front of it. I don't think I would have thought to call the cops.
So I didn't think I could move the deer because I would assume a deer weighs like 500 pounds.
Were you alone?
I was alone.
Okay.
So I couldn't move the deer by myself. And I was also like, not a full body.
No. I mean, in like, I meant like outside of the gummies. Like, do you think you would have like still called the cops if you hadn't been on gummies? Do you think you would have taken the same actions that you did? Just curious.
If I hadn't been on the gummy, I probably would have felt like my mind and my body would have been capable of assessing the situation better and like going out there, because I am somebody who could probably drag, even if it were a 500-pound deer, if I was not high and I probably could have like,
that's right. I
could just drag that deer off of the road. In fact, I could have drugged the deer off the road, hung it up in the garage, carved that thing up. We would have had some venison.
Oh my God.
It's fresh meat.
You're like, I would have quartered that bitch right on the side of the road. No biggie.
Yeah, it would have been great.
Like, I was kind of curious, like, can you get in trouble for hitting an animal in your car?
So you won't get in trouble for hitting an animal in your car. However, if you hit a deer, it's in your own personal best interest to actually call that in and make a report, because you are going to have damage on your car. If another hit and run happens and your car has unreported damage, they could assume that would have been a hit and run of something else. Like, right? So you now have a report saying, I hit a deer.
Well, only if you're planning on I'll bet you the person got out and looked and made the assessment of whether or not it was worth making a claim. And since it wasn't, move forward.
It's not making a claim. Like, let's say you hit a deer and you bust up the front of your car and it's a white car and you have a busted taillight and all of this stuff. Now, somewhere else in some other part of the city, some white car hits, I don't know, like a Ford Bronco and it's a hit and run and they drive away. Now your white car is also, now you're in like, wait, this car matches that description and it has damage. I know it sounds like a 1 in a million, but
I think I would be fine. I'd be like, well, test the DNA. It's not a human. We're good. Like, I don't think I would have thought of that. Interesting. Yeah. I am wondering though, like if you hit a deer or anything else, if you should report it so that the carcass gets moved off, or are you responsible for moving the carcass off? Like all of that kind of stuff. Like, and what happens to the carcass after that? Like, I would have thought, do I call animal control and been like, can you come get this dead deer?
Okay. So I just Googled it, and it
Okay.
says, yes, you should call the police if you hit a deer, even if there are no injuries or damage to your vehicle.
Okay. Well, now I know.
It says that depending on your state, failing to report any accident, even just hitting a deer, is a criminal offense.
Oh,
and
shit.
the deer could be hazardous to other drivers.
Yes.
So the police can move it. And insurance, it would help with insurance. So yes, they want you to do it, because now okay, so let's go down this road for a
No,
second.
I do get
Let's
like
say
the other people thing. Like you would be
Yeah.
liable for the other people getting injured if they
Yeah.
hit the deer that you just like left there and didn't call. That part I get now, but I don't think I would have ever thought, like I would have thought I think I would have been like, oh, got to move the carcass out of the road. Like that person who hit it, I'd have been like, got to pull it out of the street. You know, I think.
I would have right away. First of all, I would have went back to make sure it was a deer. Like, it was kind of that time. Like, what if it wasn't a deer? What is this? I have my ringer off and it still rang.
Oh my gosh. Is it an emergency?
Anyway, no, it's a voice call from WhatsApp. That's weird. Maybe it's our listener in Nigeria.
Still Nigeria. Oh my gosh. You should have answered it. What if he was trying to contact you?
I know.
Should I clarify for folks? Because I just realized we talk about that a lot. And I don't know if everybody knows like why I say that.
Yes. Let's hear it.
Oh, okay. So I just wanted and now I kind of feel bad now that I'm saying it, but just given like my life experience in the industries that I've worked in, when I think of like Nigeria, I often think of like romance scammers. Like, and so there's not a one-to-one for that, but guys, I'm also kind of lonely. And so I think when I'm like, oh, Mr. Nigeria, like come flirt with me, like, so that's where that comes from.
Well, speaking of Nigeria, that makes me think of travel. And we had an episode where your credit card got stolen and they ate at Taco Bell and Chipotle.
Don't remind me. I'm so jealous still.
As we said in the After the Slide episode, that if there was another credit card theft, that we would calculate the number of items they would have to purchase in order to have reached that number at Chipotle or Taco Bell, and we could find out how many Crunchwrap Supremes. Well, Mr. Jillian had his credit card number stolen.
What?
Yes.
No, that's how is that? How okay? How is that possible that we have like matching stolen credit card stuff in the last 6 months? I mean, like, how often do you know somebody and you're like, oh yeah, I just got my credit card number stolen. Oh yeah, I just got mine stolen too. Like, that seems really weird.
I don't know. I feel like it happens once every year to 18 months to somebody in my close little area. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the first time I've ever had my credit card number stolen in my whole life.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, no. I do a lot of online shopping.
I was just about to say, I think you might do a little bit more online shopping than I do, but.
Yes. So I would say using online websites is going to kind of increase that likelihood. So,
yeah.
And especially if you're not using mainstream websites. Like if you buy from I don't know,
random
Bob's Board Games or something, maybe you'll get your credit card stolen a little more often.
Yeah.
Okay. So the people who stole his credit card.
Yeah.
Spent $2,700 at Spirit Airlines.
How many trips is that? Oh my gosh.
So first of all, I'm guessing that they were able to buy the entire plane for $2,700.
They're like, we're going to make this plane private. We're going to have one plane with all of our friends. Just so our listeners know, because not everybody is from the U.S. who listens to our podcast. Spirit Airline is one of our discount airlines. So if you decide you want to get on an airplane and you're not going to take a purse, you're not going to take a toothbrush, you're literally just going to take you and what you're wearing. Sometimes you can get a flight for $29. right? Like,
Yes.
okay.
Yes. So you can get most domestic flights on Spirit Airlines for under $50. However, because they're such a low cost airline, they charge you for everything. If you want to have a choice of your seat, you're going to maybe pay between $20 and $50 extra to choose your seat. If you're going to bring a bag, even if it's just a purse, you're going to pay. So they start to really tack it on. So we're going to assume these people weren't taking any bags and they weren't selecting seats or getting any snacks. In 2020, the average domestic ticket price was $98. So that means that they were taking 27 flights on Spirit Airlines.
Holy crap. Oh my gosh.
And if you're going to have somebody else paying for your airline, why are you choosing Spirit Airlines? Like,
oh my gosh,
it's not even your money.
Kidding. Yeah, I wonder if they were like buying gift cards and then selling the gift cards or something. Like, I can't even imagine. It just feels like common sense. Like, who would buy a plane ticket with somebody else's credit card and think, oh, they'll never find out it's me? Like, that's not smart. Like,
that's so crazy.
I know. That's so weird. So, Mudslide Mamas, if you've recently been the victim of credit card fraud, let us know how much was spent and what was purchased. So that way we can continue this, I don't know, fun little game of like, how much did they buy? How many people could they feed for how much time?
You know, this kind of ties into something that I am super heated about. I recently went to a master class. It was absolutely fantastic. Okay. So it was on if you're throwing a, like a teaching seminar or something, like how do you host better events?
Okay.
And one of the things that they talked about, which was kind of mind blowing to me, was the cost of coffee. And I already knew that like when you were hosting an event, the cost of coffee at the event is astronomical. You're paying $80 a gallon.
What?
So
what?
Yes. And if you think about like how many gallons you need, because if you have 1,000 people coming to the event and the average amount that people consume and everything, you're probably spending about $1,500 a day on coffee. So she had some really great tips. If you throw an event, I'd love to put you in contact with her. But I felt strongly about this for a long time. Her talking about how to save money on coffee, like brought this back to my mind. Why is coffee expected? How did coffee become an expected thing that I need to provide to people? Like, I don't think that when I go to a conference, I don't expect somebody to have a monster sitting there waiting for me because I need it to survive. Like, whatever, if I want that, I'm going to show up with it. Why, as a society, do we expect that other people need to provide not water, but coffee as a beverage?
Oh, this is easy. It's a twofold piece of it. It's actually for the presenter or the event coordinator to make sure that there is a legal stimulant to keep people engaged with the content. So that's number one. Number two, it is semi-universal. Yes, there's not everybody who drinks coffee, but like on a whole, Jillian, they're not going to provide the specific monster that you specifically like. Right. And the cost of that's probably significantly more than coffee. So I think that's just kind of one of the things, right? And I think, I can't believe the price is that high now, but I'm imagining it's probably like en masse. Like if you tried to have any other kind of stimulant available for the people attending your event so that they would continue to stay engaged, continue to keep their butts in their seats, it's got to be coffee. That's got to be like the least expensive option, right? Like I almost wonder if like if smoking was still like legal for everybody of all ages and it wasn't like bad for you, like if we didn't have that transition to where like, smoking cigarettes is not okay, I wonder if that would have eventually maybe been something that kind of got offered for free at events as well. But I just feel
like if your conference is so boring, you have to provide coffee, like then you know what, have better content.
Mhm.
And then, like, I don't feel like because you got addicted to coffee or you like the flavor of that I should have to provide it. Like, I just don't feel like it should be an expected thing. If I want to eat something or have something, I'm going to bring it to the conference because I'm responsible for my own body and like what I need.
Yeah, but I think you're thinking the audience expects it, and I don't necessarily. I mean, it's come to be custom now, and people, when you say expect it, it makes it sound like people go, if you don't have coffee, I'm not coming. But I think more so what it is, it's kind of to your advantage as the host to make sure people have an option of keeping themselves alert, awake, and staying at the conference. I hear what you're saying, that you should have this amazing thing, but a full day conference, Jillian, I don't care what topic you're talking about, you're going to lose the audience at some point. And if you don't provide them with some sort of refreshment, you're going to lose them further, right? And so the best kind of refreshment for you as a host should be something that has a stimulant to it. You don't want to provide them turkey. Do you know what I'm saying? You don't want to provide them carbs. You want to provide them sugar. You want to provide them caffeine, right? And it is probably the most common, like, base form of caffeine in humanity, right? So to that point, the majority of humans, if they really need something, will take it. Not all of them, of course, right? So oftentimes you will see, like, and then in other conferences, it'll be coffee and then maybe like one or two sodas. It's not the whole spectrum of soda, but like you might see some soda, right? They're not there to hydrate you. They're there to like keep you engaged in the topic, especially if it's something that's like a required training, right? And like you have to like earn a certificate or something from it, those kinds of things.
I teach a lot of
That's
classes.
what I'm thinking.
And they are, a lot of them are like an hour long. And people, I was like, do we really need to take like coffee to this hour long class that is on something simple? And people have responded with, if I showed up to a class and there wasn't coffee, I would be pissed. And that is the response that I get. So now I'm required to bring coffee even to short events, not full day conferences. I totally get it with a full day conference, especially because they're like tied there. They can't really go out and get something. If you're going to an hour or a 2 hour long class, you could stop at Starbucks on the way if you need a fucking coffee. Why do I have to buy it for you? Why do you expect it from me as a presenter to give it to you when you should have been caffeinated before you showed up?
Like, no, like there's things that like just kind of come with the
territory.
territory.
I don't know. This coffee thing is a hill I'm going to die on.
I think the world has changed a bit. You are going to lose some people still, but after like having so many like virtual meetings, I think a lot of people have started to get used to like decontenting in general. Like I will tell you, I remember very specifically back in the 2000s, Taco Bell's Mexican pizzas used to have green onions on them, Jillian. They used to have like diced up green onions on top, one of the toppings. Well, guess what? There was like some sort of like salmonella or E. coli breakout in like lettuce as well as in green onions. And so companies did not have to have, they were like, oh, we can't put them on there because of E. coli, right? Oh, well, we're going to take it off. Guess what? They probably saved themselves $500,000 that year just from that. And they just never brought it back.
Totally.
You know? And like me, I was still pissed about it years later. But guess who was still buying Mexican pizzas without it? So but my point is, I guess I think that like certain things, as they get decontented for certain reasons, you can probably get away with not bringing it back. And granted, some people might not like that the coffee's not there, but the majority of people will still attend, I bet. They're there.
I went to a training, an in-person one recently, and there was no coffee. And there were multiple people who were like, where is there coffee in the building? Like, where can I go get this? And I'm like, seriously, like, why, if it was this much of an emergency that you were like, what am I going to do? Why are you not more prepared? Why is this now somebody else's problem to like take care of it for you? Like, if it, if you were like, oh, okay, no big deal, there's no coffee, and you just kind of went through and it wasn't a thing. But if you were like, oh my God, well, where can I get coffee? Like, where's the closest place? Like, how far away do I have to drive? Like, whatever. You have a problem. Take your coffee with you. Like, don't expect somebody else to provide that for you. I don't know. I feel like, okay, here's the thing. What if you went to Waterworld? Would you expect a lifeguard to give you a pump of sunscreen because the sun's out and you're at a place and there's like, you know what I mean?
Honestly, if that had been the norm for the last 50 years, yeah, I would be surprised, Jillian, if it wasn't there. Gotta be honest. And maybe I'd be a little confused about where the sunscreen was. I have gone to a hotel that did not have any like shampoo and conditioner in the room recently. And I was like, where's the shampoo and conditioner? Do they have to provide that? No. To your point, Jillian, if I need it,
Right.
I should be bringing it with me, right? But I have been groomed by the industry that that would be provided to me, right? So if I call the front desk and I'm like, where's the shampoo and conditioner? And they go, we don't provide that anymore. I'm going to be a little bit like, I was not anticipating this. So there's going to be a transition period for people. And some people are going to be like, I assumed there was going to be coffee because historically every other conference I've been to has had it. I'm probably at least the first time that happens to me going to ask, right? Because I'm just not expecting that to happen.
I think it's time
Do you
to
know what I'm
change
saying?
this. I am going to be the leader in ending the free coffee train. A coffee cart will be provided of like pay it yourself, like a cash bar for coffee.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some of that. I think you just like go, oh, the nearest Starbucks is here. Like maybe just know that, right? As a presenter. Oh yeah, there's coffee over and blah, blah, blah. There's a lobby across the street at the hotel. Like whatever
when we become
case may be.
a big, huge, well, I mean, we're already international, but when we need to do our first like podcast tour, don't expect coffee, Mudslide Mamas. Don't expect it. Unless Natasha's buying. All right. I'm going to try and calm down.
I hope that was helpful. I hope that was
my
helpful.
nerves on this coffee conversation.
Yes.
Destimulatize myself.
I love it. You know what you should do? You should just bring all of the exact kind of monster you like, and people will be like, oh, I don't drink those. And you're like, oh, so sorry. Here are the available beverages.
It's only Ultra Paradise Monster. That's it. Just that one. Just cases and cases of it. If you're listening, Monster, we are looking for sponsorships.
Oh my goodness. Oh, who will our first sponsor be?
I know.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Mudslides brought to you by Insert Every Name. Oh my gosh. Well, Jillian, it's been a really fun ride today. I'm interested to see what the after slide is going to be, what kind of topics we forgot to like finish, what kind of random terms we use that maybe only you and I know. So looking forward to the after slide.
See you next time, Mudslide Mamas.
Bye.